I think that is what the benefit of being a licensed real estate agent or realtor who wholesales. You give your homeowner options. And what you are as the real estate professional is a problem solver. They may not be able to take or may not want to take the lower price, but still need to sell. So compare that to somebody that does not have a license. They are pretty much stuck, and that's the end of the conversation. I can carry that conversation on and say, okay, well, I understand that that price doesn't work for you. Let me tell you why I can't pay any higher than that price. And I get into the explanation of why I can't pay it. But what I can do is we can put it on the market. You are still solving their problem, whether you go in as a investor, because wholesalers are investors, or you go in with your real estate hat on as an agent. You give that particular homeowner more opportunity and more options to choose from.
You are listening to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast with host Kevin Jefferson. This is the #1 podcast for African American real estate professionals who are doing extraordinary things. It's time to tune in. And now, your host, the People's Lender, Kevin Jefferson.
Welcome to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson, and today we have a good friend of mine, Mrs. Eboni Killian. How you doing, Eb?
I'm doing well. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing awesome. First of all, I'd like to say I am very proud of you.
Thank you.
Because when we first met about 3 years ago, you were very shy in terms of speaking.
Absolutely.
Now I see you on all kinds of platforms and doing amazing things in the real estate space. And I'd like to let the world know about your story. So tell us a little about who you are.
A little bit about me. Georgia native. I am an associate broker with Sovereign Realty and Management, but I am also an investor with the niche of wholesaling. Right now, currently, I serve as the 2021 president of Women's Council of Realtors Atlanta Network, as well as the first vice president of Women's Council of EBR, which is one of our local chapters here for the NAREB, National Association of Realtors, Real Estate Brokers. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Okay, cool. So prior to real estate, what were you doing? What was your career?
Prior to real estate, I was in the healthcare field.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what got you out of healthcare into real estate?
I always had a interest in real estate. I wanted to mainly just invest. And I was a mother with 4 young kids. So I actually took the traditional 9-to-5 route. Worked in healthcare, decided one of my good friends and family members said, well, why don't you just cut the middleman out for real estate investing and get your real estate license? So that was about 11 years ago. And I got licensed. Didn't really do much with that license because I still had small kids. So I worked a traditional 9-to-5 and maybe listed and sold, family friends' homes until about 4.5, almost 5 years ago when I went full time.
Okay, cool. So in doing that, like in getting your license, are you really cutting the middleman out?
I think getting my license gives me more opportunities and gives me more options to offer home sellers as well as home buyers. I am versed on both the real estate, rules and regulations, as well as an investor when it comes to being a licensed investor.
Gotcha. And becoming a realtor, do you think that was helpful in the investing side, or are they two different spaces?
For me, it was helpful, but I will say it definitely is two different sides. There are many people think that you do need a license to invest in real estate, and that is completely false. You don't need a license. You can invest, but you do need a investor-friendly realtor. So,
Gotcha.
goes hand in hand.
What does that look like? When I say what does that look like, what does being an investor-friendly realtor, what does that mean exactly?
Well, I have now transitioned to about 97% of my business being truly just investors. And an investor focused or friendly realtor thinks a little bit differently than your traditional real estate agent or realtor. You have to know your numbers. You need to know your community. Investors aren't really emotionally attached to the property. They are more concerned about what their return of investment is going to be. So someone that is investor friendly and focused needs to be able to paint that picture for an investor as far as what their investment looks like on the purchase side. If it needs to rehab, be a little bit able to estimate rehabs, not to where you're a contractor or anything, but kind of have a gauge of how much it would take to bring that property to either fix and flip status or rent ready.
Gotcha. So how involved are you in that process with your clients?
So I'm pretty involved. Lately, I've been getting new investors, so it's not necessarily a challenge. It's been fun for me and passionate because I'm able to teach the process of investing as well as helping, new investors make a good return on their investment. And a lot of people are, including my mom, have taken throughout the pandemic, going ahead and retiring, and they've got a bunch of liquid cash that they want to do something with during their retirement. So
Got you. So what you're telling me is a full renovation is not 30 grand?
no. Well, depends on what market you're in. Right. Not in Atlanta.
So a single mom getting into the real estate full time, what was it that made you say enough is enough? I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump.
Well, I'll tell you, I was missing PTA meetings, baseball games, dance recitals because I had to work, So I really got into real estate and the investment space to have more freedom with my schedule. A lot of people say, well, I wanted to make my own schedule and have more time. I don't necessarily think you work less being an entrepreneur in real estate, but I do have much more control over my time.
Awesome, which is a huge difference. I'm sure you probably work essentially more hours.
Absolutely.
But the flexibility allows for you not to miss important things, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
I can analyze deals when people are asleep, and your traditional 9-to-5ers are asleep getting ready for their next day.
So. Gotcha. So what you wanting to get into investing as an investor yourself is what got you into real estate, cutting out the middleman. How were you able to get your investor clients?
So that's a great question, Kevin. Thank you for asking. I got investor clients by getting into that investment space. I intentionally interned with a good friend of ours, Ramon Tooks, for about a year and a half. Went to real estate investment associations, just made myself known and, kind of intentionally inserted myself in the investment space and got to know, investors to find out what they were looking for.
Gotcha. And in that piece, what allowed for you to niche down into the wholesaling space versus maybe fixing and flipping or buying and holding?
Great question. So, and I know we talked a little bit about it, and I've talked a little bit about with some of my clients too. I don't like chasing contractors down. So I had the thought process of, well, an ordinary, cosmetic fix and flip might take you 30, 60, 90 days. And then your return on that is 25, 35, maybe $40,000. In 90 days, I can wholesale 4 properties and make the same amount of money that you made on your fix and flip. And I had to not track down one contractor.
Gotcha. So for those who are listening to us and they don't know, can you give us the definition of wholesaling?
Wholesaling, yes. I have this conversation often. Basically, and you can wholesale anything, you can buy things on wholesale. Basically, you are acquiring property at a discounted rate. You're usually a problem solver for a homeowner that has a need and not a want to sell. And you are purchasing a property at a lower rate, and you are finding an end buyer and selling your contract for a little bit higher, and keeping the fee in between,
Got you.
keeping the difference.
Got you. So I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you consider wholesaling investing?
Of course, it's a niche. It is a so I love to hear people's thoughts about wholesaling, but wholesaling is definitely a niche in investing. There are investors that just wholesale, but what wholesaling also does to that investor that really wants to, maybe learn how to get into investing, don't have a whole lot of money, it is a way to build capital. If you want to fix and flip or buy rental property for your portfolio, it is definitely an entryway into investing. And a lot of people just keep it as a niche and continue to wholesale.
Gotcha. And from experiences and conversations, most people think that wholesaling, while it's the entryway, they think it's the easiest way in. What are your thoughts?
So I will say it is the least expensive way, not necessarily the easiest way, because wholesaling takes a lot of work, and definitely systems and processes in place that make it an easier transition. It's not easy at all. It's hard work. Well, let me take that back. It is easy, but it is hard work. So you definitely have to be consistent. You got to get through a lot of no's to get that one yes, but that one yes may be, equivalent to an annual salary for somebody.
Wow.
Just depends.
Wow. So with you being a realtor,
Mhm.
and specializing in wholesaling, sometimes that's looked frowned upon, correct?
Correct.
Correct. How are you able to mesh the two?
Great question. You don't know how many conversations that I have to where I have to explain and, show that wholesaling is not illegal. It is not illegal. The best thing that comes with wholesaling as a licensed professional, is transparency. So when I meet distressed homeowners, the first thing I tell them is, hey, my name is Eboni Killian. I am a licensed realtor here in the state of Georgia, but I also am an investor. And I buy and sell property all over the state of Georgia. That lets them know that, hey, I do have a license. With that license, I still have a fiduciary responsibility to let them know, what the value of their home is. But I feel like when you are upfront and honest with homeowners, you give them more options. They may not be able to wait 30 or 45 days for it to close. They may take the option of selling it a little bit cheaper to you to get out of whatever situation they're in. But being upfront and honest with the homeowner, you definitely have to have a conversation with your broker. Not all brokers are the same, correct? A lot of big box brokers don't allow their agents to wholesale. But if you take a look at your iBuyer platforms, that some of the companies, and I won't name names, but some of these companies that are, have an iBuyer platform or a instant cash offer, they're doing the same thing.
They are. And I think, and you tell me what you think, it's just the fact that if someone else does it and they call it wholesale, but then when they say iBuyers, it's looked at differently, but it is the same.
Absolutely.
Seller is selling you their house for percentage off, for a faster closing, and they're getting less money.
Correct.
Gotcha. So what does that arrangement look like? And you don't have to get in percentages, but what does that arrangement look like with your broker understanding how you're getting off-market properties and selling them to investors?
So, well, I will tell you that I searched long and hard for a broker that was one who understood wholesaling or the process of acquiring off market properties and selling them to investors. At Sovereign, have an amazing broker, Karen Hatcher. She understands investments in and out, and she also understands the process of finding off market properties. And as far as what that arrangement looks like, a lot of people that I run into that want to wholesale that have a license always ask me the question, well, do you have to pay your broker? Yes. Yes, your broker is responsible for every single solitary real estate transaction you do, including selling or buying your own personal home. But that's an easy conversation where you can negotiate what that looks like. It doesn't have to be your standard split. You have a negotiation with your broker and see what that looks like, and you come to a win-win.
Got you. Are you in your wholesaling? Are you, if you're not able to, let's say you find a property, 123 Main Street,
Correct.
and you go to the seller and they're interested in selling it, but you guys can't come to an agreement on price. Do you ever just go ahead and take that as a listing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that is what the benefit of being a licensed real estate agent or realtor who wholesales. You give your homeowner options. And what you are as the real estate professional is a problem solver. They may not be able to take or may not want to take the lower price, but still need to sell. So compare that to somebody that does not have a license. They are pretty much stuck, and that's the end of the conversation. I can carry that conversation on and say, okay, well, I understand that that price doesn't work for you. Let me tell you why I can't pay any higher than that price. And I get into the explanation of why I can't pay it. But what I can do is we can put it on the market.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's kind of like they get the best of both
Yeah,
worlds.
absolutely. You are still solving their problem, whether you go in as a investor, because wholesalers are investors, or you go in with your real estate hat on as an agent. You give that particular homeowner more opportunity and more options to choose from.
Got you. Um, have you ever run into any situations where someone tried to say you were doing something unethical by trying to wholesale with the fact that you're a realtor?
No, it's just a conversation because another thing after having that initial conversation of actually letting homeowners know, I verbally told you if we can come up with an agreement and I purchase your home or make an offer on your home, I am putting that on a written contract that I am a licensed agent. Buyer carries a license in the state of whatever state, that I'm licensed in. So it is now, I verbally told you, it is on paper on a legally binding contract. And any correspondence that we have, either verbally, by text message or email, I have a signature and it lets you know exactly who and what and where I am.
Wow.
So
That's good to know. That's good to know. I think that the perfect in this market that we're in, where there are less properties on the market or MLS, I think that wholesalers and realtors should come, because they control a lot for us, for the home buyers, for the investors. And I think that there should be more collaborations. What are your thoughts?
I definitely think it should be more collaborations with good wholesalers, and that's another conversation for another day. Because you have wholesalers that, and I won't say they're bad, but you'll have wholesalers that don't really know numbers, right? But I definitely think that collaboration beats competition, number one. And I'm gonna tell you, and some of these realtors don't want to hear it. There are wholesalers out here outworking realtors each and every day. They're doing the things that realtors don't want to do to find the properties. They're door knocking, they're cold calling, they are skip tracing, they are going to relatives' house to see, hey, do you know John Doe from 123 Main Street? It says it's your brother. They are actually out here putting in the work. And you're definitely correct with such low inventory and many realtors having buyers that they cannot service because the inventory is so low. If you partner with a wholesaler that can bring you an off-market property that your buyer is looking for, that's a total win-win solution.
Gotcha. I read a study, I think it was last week, that there are 12.3 million vacant homes in the United States. How do you think we get those on market so we can create inventory? Because I think we're 5 million homes short of homes for buyers that have pre-qualified.
You got to get on the ground and get to knocking on some doors and partnering with some wholesalers that, are willing to do the work and find these homeowners.
Got you. And
I was listening to a couple of economists, and I won't name their names either, but, and I listen, I like to hear everybody's perspective about real estate. And one of the economists that I absolutely love and follow mentioned that we need to build more homes, right? More new construction. But you're absolutely right. Why build more homes when we have 12.3 million vacant homes that we can convert into affordable housing, inventory for buyers? To me, deal with the inventory that you have and can get before you start buying, because eventually the market will shift where you have all these new constructions and you'll have homes that aren't occupied.
Gotcha. So you said a buzzword, right, Eboni?
Mm-hmm.
Affordable housing. What does that look like?
Oh, affordable housing has a different look for everybody. A lot of people shy away from affordable housing because they think they are, just low income bracket homes. Affordability to me is you don't want to pay more than 1/3 of your salary for a home, right? If you do pay more than 1/3, then from a homeowner and a traditional just home buyer, that screws your budget up a little bit. What do you have left to do the things that you need to do to run your household, right? So affordable housing to me is housing that is affordable from what I make for a living, and I'm not putting everything that I make into trying to stay in a home.
Gotcha. And I would assume that all the affordability of a house is also dependent upon your market.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right. So how do we create that?
Good question. So here's my thought on how do we create more affordable housing. And that is one of the reasons why I got into the space for investors. Right now, we're in a super seller's market, and homeowners or home buyers, are competing with your big hedge funds who have liquid cash. And they're being bid out by these hedge funds and corporations that are buying for rental or buying for any other purpose other than servicing homeowners. My thought was to get a group of investors that really wanted to, fix and flip some of these 12.3 million vacant homes, bring them up to code, bring them up to living, affordable living space for home buyers to get in. And so that's how you marry investors to create inventory to home buyers, owner occupants that need homes. And you're not necessarily talking about your $350,000, $400,000, $500,000 home. I'm talking $250,000 and under.
Gotcha. So do you think that there should be some sort of initiative, and there may be, I don't know, right? Some sort of initiative for sellers to sell and maybe have some type of tax break to help create affordable housing. Because at the end of the day, when a seller sells, they're trying to get as much money as possible.
Right.
So in this market, it would seemingly be kind of tough to create affordable housing when you've got $150,000 in equity. Who wants to leave that on the table?
True. So here's my thought about that. And you make a good point. I think it should be some type of initiative. I'm not sure if it's a tax break to homeowners. I think how we solve the affordability crisis is getting those homeowners, distressed homeowners that need to sell for whatever reason. And there are several pain points that homeowners can find themselves in that they need to sell, which make it a win-win solution to sell below market rate, right? I think we get boots on the ground and go after helping distressed homeowners out of a situation to create affordability. Because on the flip side, and I'll put my realtor hat back on now, if I am, or if everybody is preaching that home ownership is the best way to creating generational wealth or creating wealth for your family, it is an investment. I would never want to be that person to tell a homeowner when it comes time to sell that particular home, we're not going to get the most amount of money for your home. That defeats the investment. I do think it should be some type of initiative. I don't know what that looks like.
Got you. So just thinking about our conversation that we're having, question posed to you is, are any of your wholesale deals that you get ever sold to an end buyer?
No, because all of them are sold to an end buyer, but my end buyer usually is an investor because usually most of them need work.
Right. And I meant to ask anyone who's a primary residence owner who's going to live in the property.
But let's take that for a minute, right?
Okay.
Let's take that scenario for a minute. You don't necessarily have to wholesale the ugly home, right? There are plenty of homeowners that find themselves in a situation to where they need to sell their owner occupied home that doesn't need much work, that you can get an end buyer in.
Got you. So I guess when we typically think of getting a house wholesale, we think about the dilapidated house with the hole in the roof.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Got you. So essentially, what it sounds like is wholesalers are problem solvers.
They are. Absolutely.
Problem solvers.
Yeah. Or they should be. Let's go there.
Should be.
They should go into it with a mindset of solutions based for a distressed homeowner and not necessarily a distressed property.
Got you. In terms of getting the wholesale properties, I know you don't have to give all of your tactics, but what are one or two things someone who's interested in becoming a wholesaler, what are one or two things they could do to even get started?
Well, definitely, if you know nothing about the investment space and nothing about wholesaling, I definitely say partner up with a mentor, right? And do due diligence on mentorships, and ask the questions: how many wholesale deals have you completed? How many have you gotten to the table? And how many, and not necessarily everybody that can wholesale is a good mentor, right? Or a good teacher. And then next, ask the question of how many people have you helped learn the process of wholesaling? Definitely, many wholesalers can start in their own, where they live, a mile radius, take a drive or a walk to see how many homes look like nobody's living there. Write those addresses down and research to see if you can find the owner.
Got you. And are there any tools to help aid in that process?
Absolutely. And we go back to your initial question. How do, I marry the two, being a realtor as well as a wholesaler. Being a realtor gives me access to tools that help me find off-market properties. But if you don't have a license, partnering with a realtor is also a good idea. But there are different sources like I like my REI Pro or PropStream. If you're, on a bootstream budget, you can just really start with the tax records and maybe a search engine like Been Verified or White Pages Premium.
Gotcha. And all of those sound like they're free.
Well, Been Verified is low cost.
Okay.
Tax records are free. Yep. Yep.
Gotcha. So for a realtor
Mhm.
who is looking to get into the wholesaling space, what would be the first two things you would have them do to marry the two?
Definitely the first thing for realtors is definitely a mindset shift, because the traditional realtor doesn't understand how a collaboration or being able to wholesale can assist you, right? So you definitely have to be in a mindset of investing and solutions based. Second thing is partner with some wholesalers, some really good wholesalers. Ask them there. I'm not the only realtor that wholesales. There's some of us out here that wholesale. Get with some good realtors that actually wholesale to learn the process. Because you definitely, especially if you have your license on the line, you definitely want to know the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts. Wholesaling is not equal across the states. I think right now Illinois is the only state that you have to be licensed in order to wholesale. Every other state you don't have to hold a license, but if you're in Illinois, you have to have. If you can wholesale one deal before you need to get licensed.
Gotcha. So if you have your license and if you have to have your license to wholesale, is it really wholesaling?
It is. It's still wholesaling
Okay.
because it's still an off-market property if you don't bring it to the marketplace.
Right. True.
Yeah.
And you're getting it for less than
Sure.
market value.
Absolutely.
Got you. In terms of your business, where do you see yourself going in terms of, maybe the next 2-3 years?
The next year, I'm gonna probably tackle on some fix and flips myself. I will still probably always wholesale. I'm looking to scale that particular part of my business though to where I'm not working in the wholesale business as much. I'm just business development for that, and I have team members that can do all the pieces.
Got you. Since you mentioned that, what's your team look like?
What does my team look like? That is a loaded question. You definitely want to have two separate teams. First you want to build your team of investor-friendly attorneys,
Okay.
closing attorneys. If you're in a state that uses title companies instead of closing attorneys, you definitely want to make sure that your team of professionals can make sure that the wholesale deal goes off without a hitch. On the business side, you definitely want to have somebody that can do acquisitions for you, right? You may have just one person that is their sole duty is to go out and find distressed homeowners and do the numbers so that we can make offers. Then you definitely want to have somebody that's on dispositions that will just marry the two, matchmake. A wholesaler, I call it, is a matchmaker. We have the properties, we're going to find the investors, and we're going to marry the two. So definitely from a business standpoint, I'd say acquisition, somebody that does acquisitions for you, somebody that does dispositions for you, and probably a good assistant that maybe can do research.
Got you. Do you utilize any virtual assistants at all?
I do. I still use Reva Global. And they worked out for me. So
got you. Do you take on do you have any type of mentorship program or anything like that you have?
I do, and I will I'm actually reworking. I actually have a mentee right now. She is on a 60-day fast track wholesaling mentorship one-on-one. I am retweaking that program, and for 2022, we'll probably bring out some group mentorship. along the same line, maybe like a 30-day group mentorship where we get down and dirty, and in 30 days, we at least have you under contract for your first wholesale deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Ebony, this has been, it's been impactful. A lot of information in a short period of time. For those who would like to learn more about your mentorship program that you have coming up, or would like to utilize your services, how can they contact you?
I am the Peach of Peachtree on IG. I am Eboni Killian on Facebook, LinkedIn. My phone number is 678-860-9408. You can send me a text. You can give me a call. You can send me a direct message. I think I'm at about 5,000 friends on Facebook, so I can't accept any more friends on Facebook, but I definitely have a business page that you can follow and send me messages on.
Got you. Awesome. Ebony, I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. I'm honored.
To see your insight. It's been a long time coming. I just never got it together. So thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening to the Real Estate Proverbs podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson. Have a great day.
Thanks, Kevin. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching the Real Estate Proverbs podcast with Kevin Jefferson. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can be notified when the latest video drops.